We are back here on Patriots No Huddle. The three of us here, Derek Havens, Mike Diabate, Steve Ballesteri, your hosts as always. We are back here brought to you by PatsFans.com. I want to thank everybody who's reached out. I was not in witness protection. I have been gone for several weeks, but I was taking care of some business outside of the podcast world. Really been quiet on social too. But for anyone who's reached out, I'm here, and I think for the foreseeable future, gentlemen, be the three of us, barring any crazy life setbacks. But before we do anything, first, Steve, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing really well. I mean, who would have thought back in January when the Patriots hired Mike Vrabel that the Patriots would be crowned the champions of the AFC East in year one? So they totally dismantled the Jets today. I really liked the way they approached the game. They took care of business. They didn't take their foot off the gas until this game was over. And then they went about resting their people, and they came away pretty unscathed. With the exception of maybe Jack Westover, they look pretty healthy.
Yeah, definitely put on a clinic of a performance, and we're going to dive deep into that. Excited to do so with Mike, as always. Mike, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you back, Derek. Definitely, we missed you, my friend, and glad everything's all settled and situated, or at least as much as possible. And feels like the triumvirate is back together again, and we're definitely stronger together than we are apart in terms of this podcast. But if you're a New England Patriots fan, how could you not be having a great night? I mean, you channel your inner rock right now. Finally, the AFC East has come back to Foxborough. And there's a certain ring to that when you look at how this team was put together, and Mike Vrabel coming in as the 16th head coach in Patriots history and saying he's going to bring back accountability. He's going to take away the quote-unquote shit that gets you beat, and he's going to make sure that this team is held accountable for everything that they do, and they're going to play fundamentally sound football. You've seen that week after week after week, and even in their losses, the Patriots have always shown you something that lets you believe that better things are on the horizon. And here they are at 13-3, and they're crowned AFC East champions. It truly is an amazing run for this team and this franchise. And I know everyone is excited in Foxborough for the continuation of this one.
Absolutely. I well said by both of you. 42-10. I mean, you basically just roll up and down the field. Drake May MVP performance on show for the second week in a row here, and they had two of their top three receivers out. The left side of their line was out, so you had essentially four offensive starters not playing in this game, and it didn't matter. It was just kind of easy button up and down the field. Really, Drake May had two incompletions on the day. Really, only one, that Kyle Williams draw haunts me from not only a DraftKings purposes, but also hurts May's completion percentage, but I think 19 out of 21 still not a bad day at the office for a few touchdown passes. Mike, I don't know if you saw this in the chat, but your mic was crackling again. Just want to throw that out there just in case, because we did have that the last time was on. Just wanted to mention it. It's not doing it when you're not talking, just for what it's worth, but I figured I would say it real quick. Steve, to you, I think that obviously it's hard not to come away with just a masterclass by the offense. Josh McDaniels, pretty much everything they were doing, they couldn't do anything wrong. I mean, the way May was facilitating the ball, he looked so comfortable, so poised. It just looked like a pitch and catch out there on so many of the passes throughout the game. It looked like the Jets had really no answers, and I thought they were going to kind of run out the string there. I don't think Vrabel and company cared for that roughing the passer call very much on the Jets, and then they just continued to go all gas, no brakes from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I thought Drake May was magnificent. I already wrote this for my column for tomorrow. It's already in the chute. I mean, 19 of 21, as you said, and one of the two incompletions was a drop. So he had 5 touchdown passes and only 2 incompletions. That's a pretty good day at the office. And he did all of that in 2.5 quarters. He could have really lit it up. But I agreed with their decision to set, most of the guys after they made it 42-3. There's no sense getting anyone injured when the game was already well in hand. And then, look, you have to tip your hat to Josh McDaniels. They're missing 2 of their starting wide receivers. They bring in 2 rookies. Both of them contributed, pretty well. But then they went to the tight ends. They spread the ball around. Drake May had 5 touchdown passes to 5 different receivers, and they could do, it seemed like, anything they set their mind to in this game.
Yeah, no, they really had no problem just kind of, just to say they controlled the game is pretty much an understatement. I mean, it really felt non-competitive.
It looked like 7-on-7 out there.
Yeah, it really did. That's like where if they ever do implement, a flag football kind of Olympic style games full time or something like that, I could definitely see that kind of formula working where it's just a lot of basketball on grass, pace and space, kind of play out there. For me, Steve, though, as well as not only, obviously May's going to get a lot of the praise as he should. Vrabel's going to get a lot of praise as he should. But it was Vrabel's decision to continuously go for it. I didn't know if he wanted to set a tone for his team, or maybe it's just that he really just had no confidence in the Jets, or both. I'm not sure what you took away from some of Vrabel's kind of more aggressive decision-making, specifically in that first half.
Yeah, I think part of it was just the fact that he was like, look, we're not taking our foot off the gas at all today. And, basically the playoffs started for them today because, all the games are now, meaningful. And you have to, make sure you take care of your end of the situation there. So I think that played into it a little bit. Defensively, I thought they had a really good game. Now, look, when you look at the numbers, they're kind of skewed. But the Jets, through 3 quarters, had 120 yards of offense. And then in the fourth quarter, they had 180 yards of offense on their last 3 drives. And that had to do with the Patriots putting in all backups in there. So, the numbers won't look as impressive defensively, but the defense was just fine today. Like I said, the Jets' last 3 drives against backups, they had 180 yards, which through 3 quarters they had 121. So, and that was when they scored their only touchdown. So I think overall, other than the one gaffe by the special teams where I thought everybody in the stadium knew they were going to go for it, and they still somehow, succeeded in that fake punt. But other than that, I think everything was pretty good today.
Yeah. Mike, what are your thoughts on what Steve shared?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways what Steve shared was exactly what I was thinking with this team. You come out and you channel your inner Cobra Kai early. You strike first, you strike hard, you show no mercy. It's exactly what the Patriots did. And you don't let your feet off the accelerator. You take nothing for granted. You want to make sure that heading into this playoff run that the Patriots are about to begin, that they're clicking on all cylinders. If you play down to a level of competition, it not only insults your competition, but most importantly, it insults your own team. And I think that at this point, once again, it comes back to Mike Vrabel and trying to instill that level of accountability and making sure that his team is consistently playing at their highest level, no matter the cost, no matter what the circumstances are. Unless the game is far out of reach, and we did reach that point today within the third quarter, where finally it was just considered a laugher at that point. but the New England Patriots did not for one moment take anything that the Jets were doing for granted. And look, that rivalry is still alive and well, whether people want to believe it or not. I know people thought that maybe the iciness between the Patriots and the Jets would dissipate after Bill Belichick left town because of the contempt with which he held that organization. But believe me, Mike Vrabel played for this team for a number of years. Tom Brady played for that team for a number of years. There's a lot of bad blood when you go to the green side of the Meadowlands. And yeah, there's always a message that the Patriots want to teach, whether it be, butt fumble games or whether it be, 45-3 trouncings like we've seen in the past. This really kind of fell into line. So the Patriots right now wanted to make sure that they got a big time statement win. They made it. And now it's time to move on to the season finale against the Miami Dolphins with a chance to clinch or potentially get into that number 1 seed, which still is within their grasp.
I'm with you there, and I want to get into, I don't know, I guess we can get into the number 1 seed talk, obviously, winning the division, all those scenarios, anything like that. I guess something else on the game, I guess before we should go, any thoughts, Steve, that, maybe kind of thinking about the game? I know we're coming off just a couple hours, but aside from a pretty ho-hum dominant performance, was there really anything else that stood out to you, from this game today?
No, I just think I thought, they followed the Mike Vrabel philosophy, right? You play every game for 60 minutes. You don't take anything for granted in this league. And as we saw today, right? We always make fun of Mike Tomlin and mediocre Mike, but they lost to the Cleveland Browns today when they could have clinched their division. And I talked with Ian Logue, our esteemed owner there, after the Patriots game, and he was telling me in the last 5 games Pittsburgh has played against teams with a record worse than theirs. They're 0-4-1.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that one.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Another crazy scenario, right? If Denver wins next week and they hold on to the number 1 seed, the first round of the wild card playoffs would have Buffalo coming to Gillette.
Yep. How do we feel about that, Mike? Do we want to hop right into that? Or was there anything else from the game that you wanted to before we dive right into that? Because that's gonna be a lot of talk this week.
I think we can dive right into it because we're always ready to throw laurels at Drake May and the performance that he showed on Sunday. And to me, I think he's solidifying his position as a very serious contender for the MVP. If I got a vote, he would get my vote. I would truly believe that this team is molded in his image, and he is one of the major reasons for this turnaround because of everything that he's done on the field and the confidence that his teammates have in him to be able to lead them to the promised land. I really do believe that he deserves that. But I really think that a lot of Patriots fans right now are now watching very closely to the playoffs. Their vision is now hopped over Miami, with all due respect to the Dolphins who are coming up here next week. That's not a game to be taken lightly. The Patriots won't take it lightly, but yeah, if things hold the way they hold right now, what a difference 24 hours makes. A lot of people were thinking, well, it looks like it's going to be the Chargers that are going to be the Patriots' opening week opponent. And now it looks like Buffalo could come up here and you could get that elusive third matchup that the Patriots always seem to get with Josh Allen and company. Yeah, what you want to talk about an amazingly hotly contested game. That might be the ticket that you're looking at for everyone. That might be the biggest game of the playoffs, and it could happen in the first week.
Yeah, I mean, you could go. I got a little distracted midway through that because the Bears just picked off Brock Purdy on the first play of the game and ran back for a touchdown. So the Bears are up early. We got a little immediate action on the Sunday night game as we're recording this.
Stop Bears.
But I mean,
resist, guys. Sorry.
I look. I think there's a lot of people who would say, that's a really tough matchup for the Patriots, and obviously it would if the Patriots have to host the Bills in Wild Card Weekend. Obviously that's not the opponent you want to face per se, but at the same time, it would be a huge opportunity for the team to, kind of, I don't want to say get the boogeyman off their back because that seems a little strong, but the Bills have, really had their way with you post Tom Brady era, and you made, I think the Patriots made a statement by winning the division this year and doing everything they did with Vrabel and May and McDaniels and all the changes they made on the roster. I mean, they did a lot. They pulled a lot of the right strings in last offseason in order to kind of position themselves where they are today. I think it's a great opportunity to go ahead and say, you know what, we're back, and you don't have to just you're not just competing with the Chiefs every year. You got to worry about your own division too. I mean, and the Bills have to be feeling. I mean, I know the fan base is already feeling it. I know they lost today in a pretty crazy end finish there in Orchard Park, but I think if you are a Bills fan, you got to be nervous. I mean, no Mahomes, Burrow. The Ravens still have to win, and even if they don't, you don't even have Lamar in that conference right now. And the Bills, things parted for them, and they haven't been able to capitalize it at all. To then go ahead and lose the division to the Patriots and then potentially lose to them in the playoffs would be a massive blow for Buffalo. But we still have some time to kind of see what the matchups look like, and there's other opportunities too, and we could see the team just as easily, face. I mean, I have to look at all the possibilities here, but I mean, we're pretty much looking at essentially it's the Bills or the Chargers, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be either the Bills or the Chargers. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, look, I think the Chargers coming to New England would be ideal. In some ways, just given basically kind of how they've performed in cold weather in the past against that team, but it's hard to really use transitive property like that. It's a hard thing to do. Steve, what are your thoughts if the Patriots were to host the Bills in Wild Card Weekend? If that's the matchup that we're staring down the barrel right now.
If the Bills were to come here on Wild Card Weekend, you talk about electric. The atmosphere would be electric. I mean,
oh yeah.
And look, I picked the Bills preseason to win the Super Bowl this year, and right now, of all the teams that are in it, at least confirmed, we'll see what happens with Pittsburgh and Baltimore, but they're probably the most experienced team that's in it this year because there's no Patrick Mahomes. Baltimore might not get in, although right now I would say Baltimore's going to win that game next week against Pittsburgh. I'm putting my money on Baltimore in that with Derrick Henry. They kind of found their rhythm last night, against the Packers. And, that the Steelers have not impressed me all season long. So, look, I think right now, probably Buffalo would probably be the team that most people are betting on. I know, Denver has been really, really good at home, but they're not unbeatable. That defense is really good. So I think that Patriots Buffalo game would probably on Wild Card Weekend be the game to watch.
Yeah. I think you could look at I think the AFC is really truly open right now. It seems like you could look at it and say, on the NFC, there's a couple of teams that wouldn't surprise you. The AFC, a couple of teams that really wouldn't surprise you. But it's about as wide open, it feels like, at this time of year as it normally does. Or I guess, Mike, am I making that up? Do you feel that way too, where it does really feel like it's really going to come down to who strings together the most impressive end to the season? I mean, I guess you could make the case that is every year, but you know what I mean? Like it's right now you could look at 3 or 4 clubs in each conference and really not be surprised by whatever combination you end up, with.
Oh no, I think you're onto something. I think in terms of getting hot and maintaining that level of play going into the playoffs, it really does open things wide up because you've got a lot of different teams right now that have a lot of good strong suits. Denver's defense has been one of the more formidable in the league, and lately they've showed some difficulty. They've battled back, and they're continuing now to ride a hot streak into the playoffs, and it looks like they will end up being the number 1 seed, although it's not confirmed yet. If the Patriots do end up getting the number 2 and they host the Buffalo Bills, you're talking about two teams that know each other so well, and that game could go either way. It wouldn't surprise me to see the Patriots come out and take it to the Bills. It wouldn't surprise me to see the Bills come out and take it to the Patriots. Ravens and the Steelers, I mean, these are two teams that absolutely hate one another, and they're going to continue to hate one another, and it's going to make for great theater next week. This is what NFL fans absolutely thrive on. They thrive on meaningful games late into the season and going into the playoffs with a rabid taste in their mouth to really watch some great football. And I think you're going to see that in the teams that have qualified for the playoffs and that will be representing the AFC this year. I know there won't be any Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to root against if you're Patriots fans, but there's still a lot of great football, I think, to be played by some teams that may surprise you with some of the skill set that they have. I'm very eager and very anxious to watch that team in Jacksonville do their thing and see what they can do, heading into these matchups. So a lot going on with the New England Patriots right now, a lot going on in the NFL and in the AFC. But no, I think you're absolutely right. I think there is a wide open feeling right now to anybody that could get in and represent the conference in Santa Clara in the Super Bowl, and it could be the Patriots. I think they right now may be the most complete team, and I think they may be the most consistent team. And a lot of things happen when you play consistently week after week after week. If you can maintain that, you have a chance to be able to unseat a team that might be on a hot streak or might be riding maybe a little bit of extra right now. Consistency does count for something. So we'll see. We'll see if slow and steady beats the hot ticket of the day.
Yeah, I wonder with this Patriots team a little bit in terms of, are they quite ready? To go ahead and go to some of these big matchups. I mean, look, the Ravens on Sunday night, big win. But look, there's a lot of kind of asterisks if you want to put them on qualifiers. You can put on that game if you want to. I know it was a great performance by the Patriots today. Man, Russ would hate this because marginalizing all these games. But I look at the Ravens is still the Ravens to me is still a good win at primetime. Despite everything that happened there, and you still were able to win the division and end up with 13 wins at least on the season down to this point. So they've done a lot of things. I think the hard thing for why it's so hard for the Patriots to be defended right now is because they throw a lot of things at you in terms of, it's really kind of, it goes back to that death by 1,000 paper cuts. When Tom Brady was at him kind of spreading the ball around, you really don't know how how much volume certain playmakers are going to get game to game. I mean, Drake had four, I think his 4 touchdown passes were to all 4 different receivers today, if I'm not mistaken. 5, was it 5?
5. It was 5.
5 to 5.
5 to 5 different. Yep.
Yep, 5 to 5 different. Thank you. Okay. So I thought for some reason one of them was rushing, but 5 to 5. I mean, they can run the ball. They can use the running back, out of the backfield in the passing game. They can spread the ball around. Drake May is a weapon against the blitz. He's a weapon with his legs. They're opening up the playbook more and more. I still think there's more to come in the playoffs with Josh McDaniels as we're kind of rolling into the postseason here. So that'll be interesting. You also have some players like Will Campbell and Milton Williams who you should be getting back, and Robert Spillane and like certain players that I think you're going to be. There's, Tonga, hopefully, people that you're hoping you're going to get back for a strong playoff push. So, look, I don't think. Do I think right now the Patriots are going to go to the Super Bowl? No, but I just don't see how you could rule them out. I mean, you could look at Denver, and I'd say I think the Patriots absolutely have a chance versus Denver. And the Bills and the Bills are so unpredictable and really just hot and cold. I mean, they couldn't move an inch and somehow they still made it a game at the end because Josh Allen is just that good, and I think it's fascinating this year how it's all playing out for the postseason here. I guess if you were going to look at next week, Steve, for the Patriots versus the Dolphins, we're going to do our preview of the game and stuff, but do you think the Patriots obviously they're just going to be going full force, right? You're not playing for resting guys. You're just going for that 1 seed.
No, you have to, you have to prepare to play for that 1 seed, and they won't know what Denver and the Chargers do until after their game, probably with Miami. I assume the Patriots and Dolphins will be a 1:00 game, and so they're not resting anybody. They're going out there with the intent on playing for that number 1 seed, and they'll go from there. So I'm assuming it's all hands on deck. Another one of those games where they're throwing caution to the wind and they're going after it. Now, the Dolphins have been playing much better lately. They beat Tampa today, but we know the Dolphins don't play well in the cold. So I assume the Patriots would be not heavy favorites, but I assume 7 to 8 point favorites in this game, and as they should be. I look at it as, look, Miami's coming in with absolutely nothing to lose except draft position at this point. They're 7-9. They're not playing for anything. Do they want to finish 8-9 and move their way out of a better draft position? Probably not.
Mike, what do you think?
It's tough to say that the Patriots can't have an eye on trying to get some of their walking wounded healthy. That is a very extensive injury list that they have in New England right now. And ultimately, whether you're playing for the 1 seed, whether you're playing not, you always want to make sure that you're heading into the postseason as healthy and as complete as possible. But I'm with Steve on this one. I definitely don't think you take your foot off the accelerator because you're playing for a potential first-round bye. You're playing for home field throughout. This team feeds off of that home crowd. And if you've been to a game at Gillette this year, you know that crowd sounds a lot different than it has the last few years. It reached Brady-level decibels this year, and that's not easy to do. This New England Patriots team right now would love to play their home games. They'll love to play their playoff games at home, and they'd love to have that first-round bye to be able to go. So if you're the Pats, yeah, you have to go and you have to go all out. And don't make any mistake about it. Miami is coming up here to give you everything they've got,
Yep.
whether they can play in the cold or whether they can't. I do agree with Steve. They're not very good in the cold. The Patriots could take advantage of that. They should take advantage of it. But at the end of the day, you have to count on Miami giving you a playoff level caliber type of performance because they're leaving it all out there on the field. There's no tomorrow for them. As late great Gene Hackman would say in The Replacements, that makes them very dangerous people. So we'll see what the Patriots can do to counter that. But at the same time, I also know that Mike Vrabel is very pragmatic and also very reasonable when it comes to what this means for his team. And he's going to want his guys as healthy as possible. So don't be a bit surprised to see another long list of walking wounded this week. It may mean some guys get deactivated for the finale in the regular season to make sure that they're ready to go for the postseason.
Right, it's going to be it's kind of a weird balancing act. You got to. I do think you risk a lot. You risk a lot from a momentum standpoint by making it a bye week. And if you don't want to back your way into the postseason like that. You really need to go ahead and come out with the full contingent. And I don't think Vrabel's giving you any real inkling that he would do that anyway. I just don't think that's his style. 8-0 on the road, though, as they march on to the final week of the regular season, 42-10, the final score. Bills loss at the final seconds of regulation to the Philadelphia Eagles in Orchard Park make the Patriots your AFC East division champions. First time since 2019. gentlemen. So it's good to be back on top of the AFC East. I don't think we're going to be pulling in Indianapolis and be hanging any banners, but but I do think it's a great accomplishment for them here as we wrap things up, and because we will have obviously. Sometime in the middle of the week, we usually try to do a show Wednesday, but we'll talk offline about when we'll do our show. But we should have a show ready to go for you middle of the week this week, and we're going to be able to preview a lot of these matchups coming up. There's a lot of scheduling that's going to be determined by the league here in the next few hours, probably by the time this episode's posted or shortly thereafter. And then obviously all the different scenarios fully broken down. So we'll have a little bit more insight into those matchups and as well as the preview of the game. I guess circling back though, one more time though, gentlemen, to I do want to get just any final thoughts on anything around the league today, which we'll end the show with. But going back to the game with with the Patriots today, any kind of final thoughts or leftover takes that you have specifically from the game? I know that there was a lot of talk about Aaron Glenn declining an interview for the Patriots, before the season. And I still think that was because he felt like it was more of a Rooney Rule obligation versus like a legitimate interview. But I did see that, as kind of being on there. What the Jets go ahead and do after this year is going to be interesting. It seems like Glenn is going to stay, although Steve and I were talking offline earlier. I just wonder, Mike, it's one of my favorite things where a team goes ahead and decides they're going to keep their head coach when he's on the hot seat, and then they go into next year and all of a sudden they're 2-4 in the first 6 weeks, and then they fire him anyway. It's like, well, at least stick to one thing or the other. I just don't like when you middle it like that. I think it just does you more harm than good. Do you think that Aaron Glenn's going to be the head coach next year for the Jets? And any final thoughts on the game today?
Yeah, I do believe Aaron Glenn will be the head coach of the Jets. I think you're seeing flashes of what this team could be if they have the proper personnel, maybe the proper assistants around him to help give him what he needs to be a proper head coach in this league. But there is something really familiar about all this. I feel like old Biff right now from Back to the Future, because we were talking about this last year with the New England Patriots. We believed that Gerard Mayo would get another year to prove himself, maybe with some improved assistant coaches, maybe with some greater personnel, Patriots investing a little bit more money, got all that cap space. They saw something in Mike Vrabel that knew that this was the guy to bring them back, to lead them back, and to give them accountability and respectability once again in New England, and he's done that. So if the Jets find that there's a guy out there that can do it, anything and everything is possible in the NFL. So it would surprise me, but it wouldn't shock me if Aaron wasn't back in the green side of the Meadowlands next year. My vote is that he would stay, but we'll never know for sure until the season is over with and that coaching carousel starts. But in terms of what we saw from the game today, I think just, again, reiterating the fact that the New England Patriots came out with the proper game plan and the proper mindset in this game, and that should lead you into a lot of confidence as to how they're going to lead themselves into now this Week 18 matchup coming up against the Miami Dolphins. I was impressed with the way Ramondre Stevenson ran the ball today. Travion Henderson did not show any signs of worse for the wear when it came from the head injury that he came back from. He's cleared from concussion protocol. He looks ready to go. The Patriots got good contributions today from Stephon Diggs, obviously stepped up big time. With Kayshon Boutte and with Matt Collins out, they prove that they've got pass catchers that can lead the way. And, of course, Hunter Henry, of course, pacing and getting the touchdown as well. He's been good, all reliable. On the defensive side of the ball, you got to be impressed by the way the secondary played. I think Jalen Hawkins is right now developing into a nice little ball hawk. Third interception on the season for him. That ties him with Marcus Jones, the two most on the team. The Patriots haven't had two players in that secondary have 3 interceptions since the Patriots did it in 2022. And I believe Kyle Duggar and Devin McCourty pulled that feed off. So a lot of positives to take away from the field if you're the New England Patriots. But once again, the final word goes to Drake May. He was phenomenal today, and you can't say enough about him. Again, in my opinion, the MVP of the NFL this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely Stafford. It's a two-horse race at this point between Stafford and May for MVP, and Vrabel certainly in contention with some other good coaches for Coach of the Year. So that's
Mm-hmm.
definitely there. Again, I just don't see uh, how you overlook. And this isn't just a one game sample size, but for me, watching this game, it kind of encapsulated a lot of how well the Patriots organization collectively did at identifying the culture and the players and the attitudes and the fit of all the guys they brought in, because you got so many different contributions, and you see it from there's an edginess to them now. They have a little bit more swagger, and yes, of course, when you have a quarterback that's kind of growing in front of your eyes, blossoming into one of the league's better passers, it's gonna happen, but it's happening faster, I think, than a lot of people, certainly than I anticipated. And it's just you see them playing with that competitive fire and juice a little bit, and they are going to be a handful. They're not going to be an easy out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do wonder again if they get hit in the mouth by at least a competent, really good team. Are they going to be able to put up when it matters most in crunch time and in the postseason? That's a hard thing to really kind of navigate if you are a team that's on the rise and with so much inexperience there. So I do think that's interesting. But man, I mean, talk about just putting a statement on. I mean, you as a Jets fan, you have to be just so demoralized about where you thought the Jets were going to be a couple of years ago to where they are now again, kind of looking up at everybody from the AFC East and seeing the Patriots get their guy at quarterback. You're still wondering. I mean, Garrett Wilson is still the Jets' leading receiver. He hasn't caught a pass since August 12th. And he's still leading the team in receiving yards. So that says something. Steve, any final thoughts on the game? And then if you want to transition to anything you took over from this week's panel, and then Mike, you can finish it off and take us out from there.
Sounds good.
Well, again, I think Drake May, they kept mentioning it during the telecast, how laid back and even keeled he is. And I think that's served him so well this year. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with, him and Josh McDaniels. They obviously are joined at the hip. We were wondering how May would handle McDaniels' offense. I think we know the answer to that. And again, I don't even think that they've scratched the surface on his potential yet. I really think that the sky's the limit for this guy. And, look, the Patriots are so far ahead of their rebuild right now. And, think back to the trade deadline. They didn't make any moves because they didn't want to give up draft capital, because they felt like, we're in the early stages of the rebuild. Well, this early stage is pretty darn good right now. So I can't wait to see what the future holds for this team. Look, I think, as you guys said, the AFC's wide open this year. Even Houston, which a lot of people are discounting them because I don't think their offense is that great. But if their offense heats up, that's a defense that can beat anybody in the playoffs. I think the playoffs are going to be really fun to watch this year. And it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But look, last week, as you guys know, I was out of town. I was on an 8-day cruise in the Caribbean, which was a very needed getaway. And I watched the Baltimore game in a sports bar that was jam-packed with Ravens fans who were very loud and boisterous and talking trash all game long. And it got really quiet in that last 2 minutes.
You could hear a pin drop.
Oh, on that 4th and 2, they were all standing screaming. And then all of a sudden, Stephon Diggs catches the ball, runs upfield, and you could have heard a pin drop. And
Absolutely.
I couldn't stop laughing because right when he made that, I was like, they're going to win this football game now. There was no doubt they were going to punch it in. So it was fun. But look, I think the Patriots are on the right track. I think Mike Vrabel, he has to be getting a lot of consideration for Coach of the Year. This was a 4-win team 2 years in a row, and now they might be a 14-win team after Sunday.
Yeah, pretty remarkable. Pretty remarkable stuff. I want to give a shout out quickly to everyone who's listening, tuning in live. Again, we are recording this on Sunday evening, December 28th. Should be up, if not later tonight. It will be posted no later than on Monday, the 29th. I want to give a shout out to people who've liked us on Facebook, Joel, Geraldo, Steve, Esther, Keith, Bob, and also want to give a shout out to John for going ahead and giving us some love there, and also Joel for writing in the chat. Appreciate all the feedback as always. Mike, any final thoughts on the league as we wrap up our final show for 2025, and then take us out, my man?
Absolutely, folks. I think the league as a whole has taught you that anything and everything is possible this year. Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes are no longer going to be the two marquee quarterbacks heading into the playoffs. You still got Josh Allen and the Bills, and I think they're going to be as a formidable out as anybody. But your New England Patriots, like Steve said, turning around from a 4-13 team 2 years in a row and coming back now at 13-3 with a chance to be a 14-3 team. That's remarkable. And that's something that Mike Vrabel deserves an awful lot of credit for. We're going to give a lion's share of the credit to Drake May, and he deserves it. The additions of guys like Stephon Diggs and Milton Williams, and the drafting of really exciting rookies like Travion Henderson to add to players that you already have here in the pipeline, like Hunter Henry and Christian Barmore, and of course Christian Gonzalez. But Mike Vrabel has been the linchpin of what has really sparked this team. I go back to what he said in January, and I just pulled this quote in anticipation for this moment right now. Our goals will be to win the AFC East, to host home playoff games, and to compete for championships. That's going to be the expectation. We're going to work like crazy. We're going to work to compete like crazy. We're going to give the players a plan, and they're going to form an identity on the field in a way that we're going to play for each other that they're going to be proud of. We want to be good enough to take advantage of bad football. And I really think in this regard, that's something that is so poignant today, because you look at the Patriots now, AFC East champions, hosting a home playoff game, taking advantage of bad football. Like we've said, he's brought accountability back to this team, and they're not doing, quote unquote, the shit that gets you beat. And that to me is something that is so impressive about this team, because for so long, that stuff that was getting you beat was really preventing you from moving forward. And Mike Vrabel has pushed all the right buttons to move this team forward. So in your first season as head coach, the tip of the cap, coach, and hopefully the best is still yet to come for your New England Patriots. And of course, I also want to give a tip of the cap to another follow on Twitter that if you're not following this gentleman, please do so. Follow at Throwback Pats. You may recognize him from his old Twitter handle, FT Beard. I believe he was Prime Band Childress at one point. One of the best Twitter follows you'll find anywhere. Truly one of the great guys in this business. Follow that account, folks, because you'll never be disappointed. His breakdowns are second to none. But bottom line, we appreciate all of you, like Derek said, for taking time out of your schedule tonight or any time throughout the week to spend time and make Patriots No Huddle a part of your New England Patriots coverage. We're honored, we're humbled by it, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for welcoming us into what has been a great 2025 for Pats fans, and hopefully a 2026 you'll never forget. Gentlemen, it is an honor. Derek, it's an honor to have you back. Steve, it's always a pleasure to share the microphone with you, Paisan. We've been doing it for so long, and we're going to continue to do that here on Patriots No Huddle. I'm Mike Debate, reminding all of you to stay safe, to stay well, to be the change you wish to see in the world. My man, the great Derek Havens. My other man, the great Steve Balistrieri. Have a great week, folks. Enjoy the Patriots 2025 AFC East Division title. Get yourself some hats and T-shirts and save room for a little more. Have a great week, folks, and we'll see you next time on Patriots No Huddle.